This is the JB Show, and it's your life by design.
Those of you who follow me on social media would know that I posted on my LinkedIn page that I would be traveling to Kenya sometime last week, and it was an event that's been organized. We were attending two events in one. It was an ESO, it's entrepreneurship support organization, which we are, a startup body shop, a bootcamp that was being organized by, jointly organized by ITC, the Ready Salon project in Sierra Leone. It's already a household name. We all know ITC. So they were organizing this bootcamp, ESO Bootcamp, that brought together maybe 18 ESOs from entrepreneurship support organizations from around Africa. And this was to take place, the bootcamp was to take place on the sidelines of what is arguably one of the biggest entrepreneurship events in Nairobi, in Kenya. And it's called Latitude 59. And this is the Kenyan edition. And it was huge. So I knew what I was going there for. And I had very high hopes for this trip. And I wasn't disappointed. So I want to be able to just share some echoes from Nairobi from this event. So you heard me say at the top of the show that I was going to share echoes from Nairobi. That is 3 things I learned from this event that I believe is fundamental to the psyche, the mindset, the preparation, and the success of every founder and entrepreneur. The first point, I think one of the ones I want to share is a discussion we had around impact and sustainability. In Sierra Leone, if you look at the entrepreneurship landscape, you look at the founders landscape, young people coming up, we mostly talk about impact. And what does impact mean? Impact is talking about those results that the business generates that is not directly related to leons and cents, not the money effect, but whatever change, positive change that is taking place in the lives of people. So that's what you measure impact by. Kids that are now in school, and the quality of life of people. A lot of other things that would, that's how you would measure impact, the level of education that is growing. And, so we normally discuss progress in business on the basis of impact. Alongside that, it has its elder brother. I don't know if it's his elder brother or it's its twin brother. Maybe elder brother, you would do that argument. But you have the brother there who is called sustainability. So we argue about impact, and people really want to talk about impact. But then we spoke about the importance of sustainability. That you may be making the highest impact if it's not going to be sustained, if it's not going to be sustainable, the equation would be incomplete. So that you cannot go either way. So, and there are lots of arguments. And I think it happens most times in Sierra Leone, in the founder space, where if you ask somebody to share about the product, even social entrepreneurs, social enterprises are those enterprises who, fundamentally would not just be about profits, but the impact they're making in the lives of people. So social enterprises would normally just measure their progress on the basis of these social impacts. And but the argument was brought there in one of the sessions we had among ESOs, not to just brag about our social impact. It's good, it's solid, but unless you could make money to sustain that impact, the journey will be short-lived. So that to be able, when I'm talking about the planet and everything we're pushing, sustainability is becoming so important. And for the life of a business, it's not just the lives you touch and the impact you make. Can the business make money? Can the business make money to cover its costs? So increasingly, investors or the people in the development community are increasingly looking for sustainability. It's not just that you can touch lives. Can you do it in a sustainable way? Can you do it in a way where donors would not have to be giving you money all the time for you to do what you want to do, because you have a system that almost recycles the resources you're bringing into the business, to the extent that even if it's a social enterprise, it's able to generate the resources it needs to sustain itself. And so it's not impact or sustainability, it's an and equation. So that means it's impact and sustainability. If you were to succeed very well as an entrepreneur, a social enterprise or not, you'd have to factor the two together. It's not or, it's and. You can make impact, but you can also run a sustainable business, a business that generates enough resources to keep itself going, to grow to the extent that you would not need people to pour in money and resources to what you do every year and all the time. You'll be making impact, but you'll not be sustainable. Something would happen, as usually happen in the global economy, from politics and whatever happened with, like USAID being closed down a couple of months back. What happened to businesses? They're making very strong impact, but because their model was based around a continuous flow and not a situation where they can generate revenue for themselves to sustain themselves. And let me reposition it this way. Those businesses that had a model that really regenerated and recycled revenue for themselves, they were able to generate the resources, survived the shock. But major organizations who was just a one-way traffic, their model wasn't designed around being able to regenerate what they were getting, had to shut down. So it's not impact or sustainability. We should go for impact and sustainability. and so one of the tagline I came back with is mission plus cash equals to the future. Nothing goes on losses. So mission plus cash equals to the future. Nothing goes on losses. Next big learning lesson I came back with from Nairobi is, and it was actually mentioned in one of the discussions we had again on day one at Village Creative. That's where this location is called. It's Village Creative. And in the discussions, we had this discussion around what is more important to investors: the business, the model, the idea, the way it's designed, versus the entrepreneur himself or herself. And then the statement was made that investors invest not just on the horse, but they invest on the jockey also. They invest on the jockey as well as on the horse. Now, not just the horse. Now, what does that mean? You now know, those of us who are familiar with horse racing would know that sometimes a major emphasis is placed on the horse. So when people are betting, they bet on the horse, not really the jockey. The jockey is the person riding the horse. So you have those horse races in several countries would have those ones, and it's intense. You would see a whole stadium packed of people just to watch horses race. And so normally when they bet on the horse, because maybe the energy and strength and speed and resilience is all on the horse and have very little to do with the rider. And so the statement here is that when it comes down to business, it's not just the horse that investors bet in. Investors are also betting on the jockey, on the person riding the horse, on the founder, on the person standing before me, a CEO and founder wanting to run this business and asking money from me. Why is that important? It's important for several reasons. And sometime in the future, we could just look through these things and just nail down what it really means. I think it's Jim Collins in his book, Good to Great. And Good to Great, and he was talking about how great leaders build companies that really transcend, even beat the stock market, quite a number of times over the normal businesses. And Good to Great said it's first who, then what. He says if you have the right people on the bus, get the wrong people off the bus, you can even change strategy midway. Because you have the right people on the bus, they can always be able to make adjustments on the path, on the way. If anything happens to the business, if you have the right people, you can always pivot. You could always readjust your strategy and look at stuff. So the person is very important. So investors are betting not just on the horse, they're also betting on the founder. They're betting on you as an individual. And what would they be looking for? Obviously, there are those natural traits that you're supposed to have as an entrepreneur. If you don't have them, they are the tickets to the match. You can't even go to the stadium. Whether it's taking initiative, it's being hardworking, it's being diligent, it's being resilient, and all of those things which are traits that you're supposed to have. But I want to mention 4 things that stood out that was mentioned that I thought was important to mention, and one of them was the founder's coachability. They're betting on the ability for you to be coachable, your ability to take feedback, not being defensive. And there's a thin line between being self-confident and being arrogant. I have been involved in pitches, as a judge in pitches, and I've seen there's a thin line when the entrepreneur, the founder, the pitchers doesn't even listen any longer. They don't even listen. They have their thoughts, they have the idea they want to push. If you're not coachable, nobody puts money behind the founder that is not coachable. You cannot be defensive. So, and then what's the difference between self-confidence and being arrogant? Self-confidence is belief in your ability, which is super important. It's fundamental. Belief in your ability. And arrogance is belief in your superiority to others. That you're just superior, so that you don't listen. Whatever you say, it's the best. Nobody can correct you. You know it all by yourself. There's a thin line between that. So you have to be mindful, because once investors see that you are arrogant, you can't listen. You are not coachable. No matter how beautiful the idea is, nobody wants to put money behind that. And I see young men all over the place. I see young men. I didn't have a story quite recently, and I pity the young man because I know he's just not coachable. He can't even listen. Now, number 2 is the founder's honesty. And some of the things that are involved in this is that it's your ability to share the numbers even when they are bad. Let the investors know you did not make the target, that you missed the target. Don't hide the numbers. Don't exaggerate traction to say, I've signed up 500 customers when in fact it's only 10 customers that have been signed up for this product in the last 6 months. You don't change the facts. You don't change the story. You work on the reality to adjust to the story you want to tell. You work on the realities on the ground. So you work on the figures. So you have to be upfront, because you're going to be found out very soon. If you're not honest, the investors will know. And it takes only one slip for them to know you're not, and nobody puts money behind. So you don't have to exaggerate your story and push it on. So you have to be honest. These are the things. Investors don't bet on the horse, not just on the horse. They bet on the jockey. They care about the founder's character. Now, 2 other things. How does the founder behave under pressure? Are they calm? How do they stay, in incidents? Do they stay calm during incidents of challenges? Do they get angry? Do they lose their temper? How do they behave? And so investors are watching that and how you behave under pressure. And finally, your willingness to pivot, which is almost connected to the first one we mentioned, your coachability. Because coachability, what it means is that it helps you to not commit the worst crime of the entrepreneur. And you know what the worst crime is? It's to fall in love with your business idea. Because once you fall in love with your business idea, you don't take any coaching, you don't listen to anybody, you know this would work, for sure. And obviously people who've been there and they've hit their heads against the wall several times in the past, and they have the scars to show for the wrong decisions they made in the past, they'll be pulling you back and say, young man, listen, young woman, listen. But you want to just go, can you pivot? Because there are times where you're supposed to change. Now, the statistics says 2/3 of successful businesses that you see today had to pivot. What they started with originally is not what they ended up doing. They had to pivot. 2/3 out of every 3 business, 2 of them had to pivot. They had to make an adjustment to fundamental assumptions in their business model canvas, which is what a pivot is a fundamental adjustment that you're doing to your business model. A fundamental adjustment you're doing in your business model, that's what a pivot actually is. So you have to be prepared that my idea as it is may not work. I need to find out what makes it not to work. and do the adjustments as quickly as possible. That's the journey you are on as a founder. And so these are what the investors are looking for, not just on the business, the fundamentals of the business, not just on the idea. They are also looking at the character of the founder. And finally, for today, echoes from Nairobi, 3 things I learned. The first one, I've already told you that it's not just impact or sustainability, is and you have to go for both. And the second one is investors are not just backing the horse, they're also backing the jockey. It's not just on the quality of the horse, but also the quality of the founder, which talked about character. Now let's look at the third point. I titled this, it's all in the numbers. If you've been following me over the last couple of weeks, you know one of my peeve, stuff, my toy that I've been playing around with, because it's so fundamental, it's so important, is this issue of the numbers. You've seen, if you go to our channels, we have a video there that we posted a few weeks back. Gives us an experience of what happened during the Global Entrepreneurship Week, where we talked about don't pitch grammar, pitch the numbers. Don't pitch your grammar, pitch your numbers. Because believe you me, I'm actually going to do a survey. Formal survey, the Startup Body Shop, we're going to do a formal survey to just prove that 80%, 90%, 95% of businesses, maybe just study the story of businesses who've won the last 20 pitches in the country and check which of those businesses have actually made it from the pitch deck. They've actually grown, they've actually had traction. Is it 5%? Maybe 10%. So a full 90% of those businesses that actually would make the cut, first, second, third in a pitch competition would struggle to come alive. Because I've observed that most of the pitches we do is actually just based on the capacity of the pitcher, the founder, the alpha in Sierra Leone, we'll call it the alpha, just their oratory power. Their oratory power, persuasion to convince, not with numbers, but to convince with words. The ability to make a play with words, the ability to take the judges alongside with them, that people will be amazed in terms of their rhetorics. But very little time is focused on, do the numbers make sense? You're going to hear me talk about numbers a lot. If the numbers are right, you can even struggle to pitch your business. If the numbers are right, investors will see through. I've seen those stuff. You can be coached to present, but you cannot coach your business fundamentals to work if the numbers are out of sorts. You cannot. There's no way you could do it. So therefore, it's super important. It's all in the numbers. It's all in the numbers. It's all in the numbers. Go back, go watch our video and just see an interaction we had with a microfinance business. How it was super, super clear that, as much as they are strong in the rhetorics, but their fundamentals in the business and were super weak. And I'll give you some examples that I brought back from Kenya as to why numbers are important. And the first one I'll show you is the organizers themselves. The organizers, Latitude 59 Kenya 2025. The name of the organization is Latitude 59, and the country lies somewhere in Latitude 59. So that is how it got its name. But this was the Kenya edition, 2025. They put out an email broadcast that said, and they were actually putting out Kenya edition, Latitude 59 pitch competition. The company that won $50,000. It's a company called Paid HQ, P-A-Y-D. They made a play on the word pay, like paid. It was a payment platform. A payment platform. This guy won $50,000, and this came from the Nairobi Business Angels Network. And see how they were telling their story. Tell your stories with numbers. So you could see the email for yourself on the screen. What he's saying here, for the first time, we hosted a 2-day event in Nairobi with 2,500 attendees, 50 countries, 2 stages, 2 workshop rooms, a 2-day DGI summit, 61 speakers, 41% of whom were women, 90 volunteers, 200 investors, 900 startup founders, 26 partners, 96 media representatives, and the Latitude 59 pitch competition Kenya 2025 made history with a $50,000 syndicate powered by the Nairobi Business Angels Network. We couldn't have been more grateful. All numbers, all numbers, all numbers, all numbers. Show me the numbers. Show me the numbers. Show me the numbers. Show me the numbers. You know, there's this story in the Bible about, they says, the kingdom of God would be like a man going on a journey and gave to his servants. Once he gave 10 talents, the other he gave 5 talents, the other he gave 1 talent. When he came back, the one that he had given 10 said, Master, you gave me 10, I've made another 10. Numbers. The one that they gave 5 said, Master, you gave me 5, I've made another 5. Numbers. The guy who they gave 1, you know what he did? He buried the talent that he was given and he spent a whole dictionary explaining why it was unfair of the boss to expect of him to use this money. I knew you were a hard man. You would reap where you do not sow, and then blah, 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 blah. The people who talk the most are usually the people with the least of substance. It's all in the numbers. It's all in the numbers. Let me tell you 3 more stories about numbers. Now, the first business that actually pitched in one of the businesses, again, I saw numbers all over the place. So there was this pitch I'm showing you now. What you're seeing on your screen is it's called MediaKits.io. MediaKits.io. One of the big stuff that investors are looking for is the traction. What have you done already? What have you achieved? What progress have you made already? It's one of the most important slides in your pitch deck. Traction. So this guy was, MediaKit.io. He said he's already had 7,600 users, 23,000 revenue that he's generated, and $90,000 in the pipeline of businesses that are already been negotiated in various levels of the business being closed. That's what they worked on. Traction. I'll show you another one. And this one is Maltura. Maltura is a product from Nigeria. So they flew out to Kenya to do this pitch. Now, and the guy was talking about progress to date. You can see it on your screen. Progress to date. Let's look at it. Active users. What's the total number of active users? 9,000. 150,000 health service providers onboarded. Test orders fulfilled. 9,000. Doctors onboarded. They've onboarded doctors in this. 50 plus doctors onboarded. Month-on-month growth on revenue, 20%. Monthly recurring revenue, 6,500. That's what they were making at this point in time. Key partners that they've already locked in. You had a whole list of partners that are there. Key milestones on the right-hand side. You could see the key milestones on the right there. And you could see it was December 2023. They had only $420. December 2024, 1 year later, is $28,000. And then August 2025, they had... Okay, so let's go back again. So let's go back. If you could look at on your right, what you see there, and they're comparing December 2023 users was 165. They only had 155 users and $420. December 2024, it was 6,000 users and made $28,000. And August 2025, they had 17,000 users, and the revenues they made was 72,625. There's something else that is outside a projection that they've done that is out of your screen at the moment. Point I'm making, numbers. It's all about the numbers. That's the point I'm making here. It's all about the numbers. Don't give me narratives. Give me the numbers. Anybody can get away with talking about numbers. And the final one I'll give you today in terms of numbers is the guys who won the pitch. Who did I say they were? Paid. P-A-Y-D. They're the guys who won. They won $50,000. That's what they won. And look at the first slide. This is amongst just the slides that they had there. They talked about, first of all, the future of work is borderless. payment has to. Payment too has to. That's the big statement in the first slide that you see there. Because work is going borderless, so payments have to go borderless. It's a payments platform, I think I told you. And it says gig and remote work has extended 5x since 2020. They're just building the case for the markets that they have, the total addressable market. $4.12 trillion annual global freelance revenue. Freelancers, that's what they were making. And there's 43% gig and remote talent from emerging markets, and doing $52 billion payouts annually. This is justifying his case. Look at the second slide that you have there. This is talking about their revenue model. How are we going to make money? They will charge 1.5% on every transaction fee. And there's 1% on, there's another fee that is hidden behind here, and there's liquidity or whatever, there's another 4% there. It's all numbers. It's all numbers. That's what talks when you're dealing with business. The next slide is showing you 30,000 plus borderless mavericks. That is the people, the number of creators that are already creatives that are already using this. The number of creatives that are already using this and getting paid. 30,000 plus across borders, beyond countries. And I think there was one slide, where this guy was explaining that there are 45 countries actually already using this in another slide. And look at this final slide. It says 51% month-on-month growth. And from August 2023 to November 2025, they had processed $2.9 million US. $2,995,212 US dollars. That is what has been processed through their system. 97,360 transactions. It's all numbers. And this one is monthly volumes in US dollars that they've been making. They've experienced from January 2025 to October, November that they were doing this pitch, 25 times growth. It's all numbers. And they were trying to raise 350,000 US dollars. 25% of that was going to grow. They wanted to grow to 10 million in monthly revenues with 300 blah, blah, blah. And 300,000 in monthly recurring revenue, and 100,000 active subscribers or users. 30% would be used on building additional payment infrastructure and the team. 45% would be initial licensing and compliance. All right, so I'd like to say thanks to ITC for this privilege that we had to be there. ITC, the Ready Salon Project. Nuria, we only worked with two people as Nuria and Babukar. Babukar, you're based here, and Nuria coordinated this from Geneva. And so I represented Startup Body Shop. Taffy represented Muzabinga. We had Aminata from Craving for Development, and CIJ Cherno representing his organization as a founder. And then we had Frances representing Christex Foundation. It was a great pleasure, but keep this in mind. Keep this in mind. Success is in your hands, is within reach, comes with hard work, crazy hard work, unbelievable hard work. But if you're born an entrepreneur, if you're called to be an entrepreneur, you never stop fighting. The energy is always there. So keep pushing. Keep this in your mind. The investors are investing not just on the business side, they're also investing on you. Are you investable? Don't just go for impact, go for sustainability. Your business and whatever you're doing has to make sense. No matter how beautiful and great the problem you're solving, if it cannot be sustained, it will be short-lived. And finally, it's all about the numbers. Know the numbers, master the numbers. If you watch what you're doing over the next watch our channels, you would see we'll be talking about numbers. We'll be working with numbers. We'll show you what the numbers mean. We'll show you how you need to analyze your business using the numbers. Until we meet again on the show, keep working on yourself. This is a life you can shape. It's a life you can design. It's a business you can shape, and it's your business. It's a business you can design. See you on the next show.
This is the JB Show, and it's your life by design.